Welcome to the UTG podcast, coming to you from the United Transport Group. With many hundreds of thousands of truck drivers around Australia and the huge impact our industry has on the Australian economy, it's our objective to ensure that every truck driver and every transport business has a voice and can be an active part of reform in the transport industry sector. Providing a strong leadership platform and low-cost membership, we're a group of like-minded and passionate transport people with vast industry and government experience, creating a strong voice to influence vital change for a sustainable Australian road transport industry. Recently I spoke with Andrew Baldock, the chairman of the Air Hub project in South Australia, and today we'd like to chat with Roxy Misco, CEO of the United Transport Group, about the involvement that the UTG has had and is continuing to have in this project. Roxy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Andy.
You're consulting with Air Hub Limited in Kimba in South Australia to help develop a transport hub in their proposed 100-acre multi-user grain and transport site, which they've called Air Hub. Can you give us some background on how this came about for you, working with the Air Hub board, and how this fits into the UTG goals of improving industry standards into the future?
Sure, Andy. So I'll give you a quick snapshot of the background. I grew up over in the Kimba region, and my parents and grandparents, so we've got a long-standing knowledge of that area. And I did some work for some farmers over there a few years ago exporting hay. One of those farmers rang me and said, look, we're setting up an Air Hub, and would you be available to have a look how you could do some consulting and help us with the transport?
Okay.
So that's how it all came about. And UTG absolutely endorses what Air Hub means for the transport sector.
Okay, so looking at a map, the Air Hub location is pretty much halfway across Australia. So what does that mean for transport companies and their drivers?
It is. It's halfway between Sydney and Perth. So that certainly is, in my eyes, for transport, location.
Yeah.
And Kimba is actually the home of the big Goliath. So some people might know it as that or have been across to Western Australia. It's the beginning really to start to head across the Nullarbor to Western Australia.
Right.
And what that really means is a perfect location for changeovers for transport industry running from Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, being halfway to Perth. So then the Perth people can meet at Kimba and the East runners can meet there. So it's perfect location. And I 100% back this opportunity for transport as a whole and the high volume transport strategy that we have. Well over 1,300 trucks a week run through Kimba doing the east-west run.
So, Roxy, tell me, what are the commercial opportunities available for businesses who might be interested in putting in an expression of interest to be part of the Air Hub project?
I'm really endorsing that anyone involved in transport have a look at the commercial opportunities happening here in the Air Hub. Some of those commercial opportunities are obviously a roadhouse, and there's a huge rest area going to be there. But we have other services as well. There'll be fuel, tyres, mechanics, facilities for drivers, parking for road trains, changeovers, weigh bridges, also a loading ramp. So the business opportunities that we see it is firstly the roadhouse, and hopefully that would be a 24-hour opportunity. When you leave Port Augusta, if anyone knows the area, at night time there's a lot of trucks running there at night, and I've done it myself in road trains for a long time. And there is nowhere between Port Augusta and Ceduna open at night. So that means you've got a 5-hour journey with absolutely no facilities at all for a driver to get a coffee, to go to the toilet, whatever.
Yeah.
And drivers are really focused around not having amenities out there.
And I believe on the site there'll be a freight forwarding area as well, Roxy.
Yes, so there's a lot of freight that moves east-west. What sometimes happens is the freight goes into Adelaide, so goes straight past the door at Kimba, into Adelaide, then gets unloaded, gets reloaded back to Port Lincoln, then distributed in Eyre Peninsula. Dangerous goods that can be stored there on the way for Eyre Peninsula distribution. And also any parcel or fast-moving freight, could be parcels coming from Western Australia, the East States, to actually have a opportunity for a local delivery business out of the air hub.
Great opportunity indeed.
The business and commercial opportunities, they can jump online and have a look and contact myself or Andrew. Certainly be happy to help them look at that. We've got expression of interest out at the moment. What it also means for companies, their drivers, is with 1,300 trucks, that's a lot of vehicles a week passing through Kimba. And a lot of those drivers at night time use that as a rest area, sleeping area. So at the moment, they're just sort of using a dirt pad on the way into Kimba around the Big Galah. Whereas with this opportunity, they'll have bitumised hard parking areas, they'll have toilets, amenities for food. But it also means that they can actually park back from the road and get a quality sleep as well, because right now they're actually parking right on the road coming into Kimba, and all of us are using our brakes and slowing down, changing gears. So it would give them quality sleep time.
Yeah. Well, it certainly is a dedicated site. And if I can steal one of your favourite terminologies, can you drill down a little bit into just exactly how Air Hub is going to improve those east-west transport operations?
Absolutely. So firstly, I think from the commercial point of view, let's just elaborate a little bit more on that. The government has, in principle, committed that they will widen the road to double lanes there, straighten the road from the Big Galah straight through, as the rail doesn't operate there now. So if anyone knows that, there's quite a little dog leg in there that you have to get trailers around. So there's that component of it. It'll be looked at in the future as an opportunity for triple road trains. So that's pretty exciting. I mean, I drive triples myself, Adelaide-Darwin, and I would be comfortable to drive a triple across there with a couple of patches of road improvements that are being discussed, a couple of areas for white shoulders on the road. But how does it really improve for transport operators is that it actually really decreases their chain of responsibility risks. It improves the higher volume of freight strategy with less risk. And fatigue management is high on everybody's agenda in transport, and it is one of the biggest issues. There's a lot of fatalities and there's a lot of accidents in the heavy vehicle transport sector now, as you know, Andy.
Yeah.
So for me, that gives a quality changeover point, and I can't express that enough. Mental health is known in the transport industry as quite an issue. And these ladies and gentlemen give up a lot of their time on the road. So they have low quality time at home with their families. So if someone was leaving Sydney and went in there to Kimba and did a changeover with a Perth driver, that means that they can unhook, swap trailers and turn around and go home. So they're on the road a lot less. That's got to be a benefit for them and their home life and mental health. But it's also an ageing workforce, and it's known that the ageing workforce is over 50. So that obviously needs to be looked at as well. I'm sure we know if we're over 50, we're looking for a little bit more quality in our life.
Absolutely.
So I mean, that's really important. The fantastic rest area for the businesses is second to none, and I don't think that can be underestimated. When you've got younger drivers as well coming in, they obviously want some quality time home with their family and friends, and using Kimba as a key changeover would be absolutely fantastic. And I'm very, very excited about the Air Hub. And I'm also really excited that it gives local regional communities opportunities to build fantastic businesses that service us as truckies, because we're always saying there's not enough facilities for us, and it's hard out there when places aren't open or nowhere to park. So to me, I'm 100% endorsing this from UTG, and me personally coming from that Kimba region.
Yeah, it's a real win-win situation for everyone, isn't it?
100%. And I think we also need to highlight that there's some other really big things happening in Kimba, and one of them is, I think it goes to Parliament this week, that the Radioactive Waste Management Centre is looked at being there. So there's obviously local engagement and communities being built. That's $350 million spent by federal government. And clearly that's all got to be transported in there. There's also, I think, a gold mine going in the regions. That's another key factor of transport and the hustle bustle. So opportunity for transport to get involved and work with us at AirHub and UTG on this fantastic project is just a win-win.
Yeah, totally. Speaking of getting people involved, there's a survey, I believe, that you're doing for transport companies and drivers to help you gather important data. Where do they find out more and get themselves involved in completing this survey to help make the project happen?
AirHub's got a strategy for their social media that's going to take place. I've been working on the survey for the transport sector for them, and it's really important, and I can't express this enough, that we get transport people involved, business owners and drivers. The survey's also going to be going across all of the UTG social media platforms, and we'll put it up on our website so they can actually find it there as well. The reality of it is that we need involvement from industry, as we are at the moment in discussions with fuel companies to build roadhouses. We want expression of interest from businesses, but we really want to hear from drivers. What do you want as good facilities? Some of the things that I know drivers say, we really want a truckie lounge area that we can go and sit if we're having a long break, sit if we want to have a cooked meal. So the facilities are absolutely critical to support our transport industry. So that survey, anyone that has a look or sees it, please make the effort to complete that, because we will put that forward to government, to fuel companies to say, yes, the engagement from transport industry is actually here.
Yeah, very much a case of help us to help you.
Absolutely. And if they want these sort of facilities to go ahead in regional areas, then they need to jump on board and just spend a couple of minutes to fill out our surveys and say, we endorse this, we back it, we need it.
Right. Now, Roxy, the survey, is it available on the website and Facebook?
Yes, it will be available on AirHub, obviously. The AirHub website is www.airhub.com.au. Get on there, do the surveys, do the expression of interest for business, help us build something in regional South Australia.
Right.
Because me personally, been working with AirHub and UTG, we'll also be putting it across all our platforms. And same with the podcast, we'll be putting it out there so that people can really jump on board. And I'm quite excited to have a great facility at Kimba for the truckies running east-west, because it's a hard run.
Absolutely. And as a local, you must be very proud as well.
Oh, 100%. I love it. When you see your local region where we've had generations of us all there living from farming and trucking, that's something fantastic. This is going into a regional community for local employment as well. And I've still got plenty of relatives over there. So I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, there you go, guys. Get involved with the survey, hunt it down, do your part, and then you can look forward to all the wonderful things to come. Now, for those who may not have heard it yet, stay tuned, because immediately after this, we're going to replay the interview that I had with Andrew Baldock, the chairman of the AirHub project, so you'll find out even more about the project and what's happening in the Kimba region. So we've been speaking this morning with Roxy Misko, CEO of the United Transport Group. Roxy, thank you so much.
Thank you, Andy.
The exciting AirHub project, planned for the Kimba region on the Eyre Peninsula in beautiful South Australia, is a membership-based not-for-profit community organisation developing a major grain storage and transport facility to benefit the region's farmers and the transport industry as a whole. We've taken a little time out to speak with AirHub chairman Andrew Baldock to find out more about him, the amazing project his organisation has underway, and the future plans for the AirHub development. Here's that conversation we had. Good morning, Andrew. It's great to have this opportunity to chat with you today about AirHub.
Likewise. Thanks, Andy.
Before we get into what AirHub is all about, we might just take a moment to get to know you a little bit better first. Can you tell us a little bit about your own farming background in regional Kimba and the experience within the primary producers industry that you've had. I know you're a farmer yourself, but tell us about why Air Hub is happening and what made you start this vision for Kimba.
Thanks, Andy. So I'm a fourth generation family farmer at Kimba on the Upper Eyre Peninsula. Mixed farm, working with my parents and my brother and my brother-in-law. So yeah, multi-generational family business, mixed cropping and livestock.
Right.
Had a reasonable amount of experience in the grains industry's various roles through Ag Bureau and undertook a Nuffield Scholarship in 2015 looking at multi-generational family businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Being farmers on the Upper Eyre Peninsula, we are a long way from both the state and national domestic markets. So we really see an opportunity for both grain investors and growers to expand and diversify their businesses by establishing a grain receivables focused on perhaps more niche grains and value-add opportunities for the Eyre Peninsula.
Andrew, let's talk about the Air Hub for a bit. There are a few farmers that are involved in this new facility, I believe of around 100 acres. Why does the region need this grain storage facility and transport hub? Who's going to benefit from it?
Air Hub is a concept that's been in the pipeline driven by local community members over the last 4 or 5 years. On the grain side of Air Hub, we've undertaken a feasibility study in the last 5 years to understand Eyre Peninsula's grain markets as they stand, with a real focus on domestically consumed grains and containerised exports.
Right.
So through that journey, we've highlighted real opportunities for pulses such as field peas and lentils, as well as milling oats and some high protein grains. So we're looking at those grains, not so much the bulk exports, but the grains that are currently either being processed in and around Adelaide or Melbourne and those that are going out in containers. We've highlighted a real hole in the market in Eyre Peninsula in particular through storage and handling, cleaning and processing in general. So as far as who would benefit from this, our catchment area would be the whole of Eyre Peninsula. Currently, all of those aforementioned grains are coming through Kimba now, which would be the site of Air Hub, and they're being delivered to Adelaide in particular,
Right.
often in a just-in-time delivery system, which requires growers to invest quite heavily on their own storage on farm and also creates a lot of issues with quality once it makes the port. Whereas we think with having delivery options, centralised options on the Eyre Peninsula, it allows grain to be dealt with in a most responsible manner. We also see strong opportunities around regional branding and value adding. So I think Eyre Peninsula has quite a good reputation, but we want to be able to extract value from the market for our produce and the region it's been produced in.
Now, as you're putting all these plans into action and bringing this forward, what are the aims and goals of the Air Hub?
Air Hub's main drivers here are to generate job opportunities and wealth creation in the region. So we think this will allow growers to extract maximum value for their produce. It'll allow them to diversify their cropping rotations. It'll allow them to grow higher value grains, and it will create jobs along the way.
Right.
That's from the grain growers. And then the transport and logistics side of Air Hub, we see huge opportunities for businesses to service what is a massive market in heavy vehicle movements through Kimba currently. We have about 1,300 truck movements a week, many of which have got nowhere to safely pull off and change trailers and deal with their fatigue management. It'll certainly benefit the transport industry no end, and it'll create great opportunities for those looking to service those markets, whether it be through fuel, food or maintenance of those vehicles, we believe.
Yeah, very important. There's clearly been a lot of interest in response to the formation of the Air Hub facility. What sort of support have you been getting, Andrew, from within government, the industry and the community in general?
Since the formation of Air Hub around 18 months ago, we've seen a large number of members sign up, lifetime and supporting members. We've certainly had strong support from both state and federal government to see this not only support the fatigue management, the transport side of things, but the growth in agricultural produce out of South Australia broadly and more specifically Eyre Peninsula. Most recently, Grain Producers South Australia have just undertaken a blueprint into the state's grains industry, which has really highlighted a need for additional processing and value-adding opportunities for the state's grain to build our state's GDP, which flows on to all local growers.
Well, Andrew, if we can just perhaps take a few minutes to dive into some of the key areas of Air Hub, and certainly the commercial opportunities for businesses to direct their expressions of interest to you. What are the commercial opportunities that businesses can be a part of in this fantastic development?
I guess if I draw that back, the actual concept of Air Hub is a community-based company limited by guaranteed non-distributory. So Our aim is to create investment opportunities locally. So as it stands at the moment, AirHub has purchased a parcel of land on the Air Highway.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking to build essentially an industrial estate, and we'll be offering up allotments there for long-term lease and or sale if required. But the unique thing about AirHub is our drivers really are about creating job opportunities and growth within the region. By doing that, we're looking to use shared infrastructure services. So on the grain side, AirHub proposes to install multi-use grain sampling hut and weighbridge, and will also help to facilitate the minimisation of grain loading and unloading equipment. So by having this collaborative approach, it really creates a low capex investment opportunity for grain accumulators, grain processors who are looking to get in and capitalise on what is really an underserviced grain market on Eyre Peninsula.
Right.
Likewise on the transport. With that weighbridge, we propose that that'll be a pay-per-use type weighbridge that will be available to all heavy vehicle access. We'll look to put in generous hard stands for trailer changeover, truck loading facilities, and I think there's a huge opportunity for investment on the fuel and service side of things. We've had a great lot of interest from the fuel companies, but we'll continue to work through what we think is the best fit for the drivers, for AirHub, and for the whole region. We are very flexible in how these investment opportunities present. We want businesses to come forward with unique concepts about how they might service these industries. But broadly, it is a commercial industrial facility that will be putting up customisable allotments to suit both the grain and transport industry.
There's clearly some tremendous opportunities there for not only the regional primary producers, but for truckies and transport businesses as well.
Absolutely.
Andrew, asking someone to look into the future is never an easy thing without the help of a crystal ball. But just for one moment, can you paint us a picture of how you see the future of this community hub, specifically for businesses, but also to the national transport sector?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as we see AirHub develop in the near future, we'll see state-of-the-art driver reviver facilities, cost-effective fuel. We'll see integrated grain and processing, which will generate real domestic demand for local growers, which will in turn create more diverse agricultural rotations and more profitable farming systems locally. This integrated approach is quite exciting, but the backing of the community is very unique. We ask now for businesses to get in touch and explore how AirHub might be able to service their needs and vice versa.
So on that point, Andrew, for any businesses, be they primary producers or transport related, how do they go about contacting you? What's their best way to find out more and express their interest? The
best way to contact us would be to reach out through the website, which is airhub.com.au, or alternatively email admin@airhub.com.au. And yes, we'd love to hear more from you.
Fantastic. We've been talking this morning with Andrew Baldock, Chairman of AirHub. Andrew, thank you so much for your time. It's an exciting thing you've got happening, and we wish you the very best for the future.
Not a problem. Thanks, Andy.
So why join the United Transport Group? Well, our industry is a very complex one. Ask yourself these questions. Are there too many complex regulations? Is the chain of responsibility working? Does the COR accountability focus on driver and transport organisation? With fatigue management, do work diaries work for long-distance driving? Should we be entitled to longer fatigue exemptions to get home or to a service centre for long breaks? If a route is approved for a combination, should we all be able to have one rule for all? Should we pay different prime mover vehicle registration costs for varied combinations? Should all equipment vehicle registrations be consistent and not vary with combinations? Are the fine amounts getting out of control and not sustainable? Are we the hardest and highest regulated industry sector in the nation? Is mass management and PBS working for the entire industry? Does the industry sector need uniform standards of licensing? Do the regulations change when you cross the jurisdiction borders? Are there major issues with limited or unsatisfactory parking bays nationally? Are there high risks with lack of education and inexperienced drivers with licenses? Is oversized mass, OSOM, too complex? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you need to stand together with us at the UTG. Numbers are a powerful voice. The United Transport Group offers memberships in categories for drivers, owner-operators, transport businesses, and transport services and suppliers, all at very cost-effective and reasonable rates. And it's your choice whether you want to pay your membership annually or monthly. Just click on the Join Us section on our website. Join up today to become a part of the voice that's united for reform of the transport industry sector.